MotoAmerica Supersport race action coming up here in a short period of time. And you got to see the history of Virginia International Raceway, but let's take a look at the track map. Jason, take us through this 2.25 mile beautiful road course.
Yeah, absolutely great road course. It's got a lot of scenic beauty to it, Greg, but it's got a lot of ups and downs that you can't see just by looking at our track map. Obviously, turn 14 being the fastest turn on the track, down into turn 1 is going to be a heavy braking zone. See a lot of passing down there. Actually, turn 2 and 3 are pretty tricky. We've already seen somebody go off there this morning. We'll be talking about that. Turns 4, 5, 6. You got to put that together as you head down to the tunnel or the bridge there into turn 7, all the way across the top of that ridge, 8, 9, 10. You got to put that spots together also, Greg. It's very easy to charge that section too much and make a mistake. And then from turn 10, it's all the way back downhill until you come back onto that big front straightaway, and that's where all the drafting and stuff's going to happen.
Well, motorcycles are on the grid on the racetrack, and so is Hannah right now. Let's get down to her. Hannah, take it away.
I'm down here with JB. Had a really interesting qualifying session today, but you're still starting from the front row. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a mess, but you know what? It's racing. It's never perfect, and but me, I've got a fantastic team behind me, and the stuff that happened it's rare, but I mean it happens, and then I made a mistake myself, and I'm a little beat up and sore, but the team did a great job to get the bike back together, and I mean they seriously got it done right before we started rolling out, so it was close, but it should be a good race. The bike felt great before I went down, and I love this track, and I'm here to race, so it should be good.
Thanks, JD. Best of luck.
Well, I got to talk to the crew at a break in between the Liqui Junior Cup race, and the bike that he crashed, and he had a big one. They repaired that bike, and it was amazing. Both handlebars, both foot pegs, subframe, bodywork. I mean, he dinged it up. Forks and frame made it out okay.
We don't see JD do that very often, and this morning it was a bit frantic because, like you said, they had a bit of a problem, and I saw some smoke coming from his bike, and he got it back to pit lane, and those guys did a great job of fixing it. They had a red flag. It helped them a little bit. JD got out with sort of like 15 minutes left, ran a very good lap time, and then fell over, and we don't see that very often. But like he said, he's a racer. He's a dirt tracker, so he's done this stuff before. Get a good look at Hayden Gillum here.
All right, let's go back down to Hannah, who has Bryce Prince. Hannah?
Now, Bryce, you've been doing really well this weekend, riding consistently. It looks like your times have been improving throughout the weekend. How has your new team prepared you for this race this afternoon?
Yeah, you know, our 60 helmets KWR Yamaha has been great this week. We came back from Atlanta with a lot of good setup notes. It was our first weekend on the bike, and we made a lot of changes going into this weekend, just lots of little changes that really put us right up front from the start. You know, we had the pace to be top 5 all weekend, and working with K-Tech suspension this year, it's new for me, and they've been trying really hard to push and get me up there on this bike, and I'm just, you know, we got a good starting position here in 4th, and we're looking to see if we can put it on the box today. So.
All right, thanks, Bryce. Best of luck.
All right, so each week the KWR racing team trying to find different premier sponsors.
600 Superstock champion 2 years ago, 1,000 Superstock podium guy last year, and this year's been a little bit stressful, I think, at the beginning of the year for him. So to see him qualify so well up there in 4th is a testament to Bryce and obviously the team he's with there with Kyle. So that's good showing for them so far.
Well, let's take a look at some race predictions. So for the race, Jason, you picked Hayden, and so did Hannah. Come on, man.
I mean, Hannah are on the same page.
That's right. So I knew you guys who you were going to go with, so I decided to go with Ashton. I'm going with Ashton Yates on the 22. I think he's going to come out of nowhere. And
he put on the podium in Atlanta, so
he's sitting 4th in points right now.
I've been watching Hayden all weekend. He's just been pounding out laps. This morning he did a string of 26. It's just a bunch of them in a row. So
hey Hannah, nice safety pick, by the way. Real nice safety pick. Anna?
I'm down here with Michael Gilbert. Michael, this is your first race back since your injury, since your crash at Road Atlanta. How are you feeling going into today's race?
I'm feeling pretty good. You know, I have a lot of good doctors and people behind me back home, and to be honest, I didn't really ever doubt that we would not be here. So Riders Law, they put a great bike under me, and we have 20 long laps to do, and we'll get it done and try and put it again tomorrow.
Thanks, Michael. Glad to be back on the bike this weekend.
All right, so concern still about Michael Gilbert, and you know, he's had the pace on and off all weekend.
I thought you said it.
Yep. But yeah.
Yeah, he's still a little bit beat up, a little bit sore, and He hasn't posted the photo of his face after his accident there, but it was all black and blue all the way across, and he did break his nose and things in that crash. And here you go, front row. Hayden Gillum, JD Beach, Nick McFadden. Great run from Nick this morning. He's really showing to step up this year. Row 2, Bryce Prince, Richie Escalante, and Anthony Mazziato. Had a good talk with Anthony as well. He says bike's feeling great. Miles Thornton, good job for him. Braden Nort, Corey West, who we talked about earlier. Then you got Michael Gilbert, JC Camacho, and Jason Aguilar, row 4. On back to row 5, Lucas Silva, Ashton Yates, Benjamin Smith, our KTM 390 Cup champion from last year, is going to be rounding out row 5. We got Max Angles, Joseph Giannotto, and Daytona Anderson through row 6. Saw Max have a bit of an off this morning coming out of turn 1. He's been doing really well. Aaron Graham, Fernando Silva, Bailey Cox, Jarrett Nassani, Ryan Christian, and Kinzer Naylor.
And on to the final row, Timothy Wilson, Jeremy Simmons, and Gillis Glidewell will make up our full field of 9 rows of qualifiers for this Super Sport race number 1. There's a look at the front row as Hayden Gillum in focus mode on his Ridiculous Racing Yamaha. JD Beach with the work to do. The question mark for JD and his crew at this point is the repairs to the motorcycle. They had a good bit of time. I was there. They looked like they were finished with the bike probably 15 or 20 minutes before they had to roll this motorcycle out. Is that bike, is that Yamaha R6 fit and ready to roll for the number 95 on that Monster Energy Yamalube Extended Services Yamaha Graves?
Easy to say.
Yeah, it's easy
Hey,
to say.
you know, the thing is you bring up a great point. Get a good look at Hayden there. This is where a crew of people like Yamaha and the whole Graves team are going to really show their worth, because, you know, there are riders out there, obviously, national champion in the past as JD, but that bike will be fine, Greg, but he's really going to have to check it on this first warm-up lap. I'm sure the siding lap, he probably had a little look at it. He's going to check it right now on the warm-up lap, but so much experience down in that pit. I wouldn't expect anything else but that bike to be perfect. As you see JD head down there with Braden Nort down into turn 1 on the warm-up lap. You saw Hayden kind of pulled all the way over to the left and let everybody go to start with. He's going to try to get back to the grid with the hottest tires.
And the story of the weekend for Supersport has definitely been Hayden Gillum. He'll be back there on that purple number 69 and JD Beach, as they have really just set the pace and been leaps and bounds ahead of everyone. You can see that Nick McFadden was our 3rd fastest qualifier.
And he closed the gap.
Yeah, he did close the gap, but it's still well over 1 second between himself and Hayden Gillum.
After yesterday, it was 2 seconds back from 2nd to 3rd place, and I believe yesterday Nick was 4th or 5th, and he jumped himself up to 3rd this morning at a 27.8, so he definitely improved. That team made some changes to his bike maybe overnight to help him. Bryce Prince, Richie Escalante, another one. All these guys kind of jumped up this morning. Big movers again. Miles Thornton up to 7th. That's a really good run from Miles. He was back there yesterday in the high 29s, just like 29.8, I think. And for him to go out this morning with 28.2, they found a big jump there for him as well. And so, some guys made some big steps, and that's really what they've got to do. These 2 guys up in the front are running away, and the next kid that kind of steps up with them will be the one that the paddock will be looking at for the future even. So, and I think that when you look at this race right now, JD coming to the line, it's going to be about how much he trusts the bike in the first 2 laps. Because if Hayden gets out there to a good start, and he has to start chasing Hayden off right off the bat, it'll just be a matter of how much JD trusts it. But if there was any big problems, I can promise you right now, JD would have been pulling in. So right now, I bet that bike is ready to roll. He's ready to roll.
Things do happen, though, in big crashes like that. The team might not have had time to dive into, say, the forks, for instance. Just little stuff. And JD is a rider who really rides on a lot of feel on that motorcycle. So it will definitely, we'll be able to tell the story from what we see with JD, his body position and his pace in the first lap or 2 to see if he's ready to go. But there's your pole sitter, Hayden Gillum. I think for the Philpott, Kentucky rider on the Ridiculous Racing Yamaha, it's been a bit of a surprise for a lot of people in the paddock that he got up to pace so quickly at the beginning of the year. Many felt like he had the pace to run with JD Beach, but in terms of what's going on with Hayden Gillum, it's been very little effort. It's been very simple little things that he and his crew have worked on to get him into this spot. So it's time to go racing in Supersport. It's a championship of Virginia for Virginia International Raceway. And we're underway.
Wow. JD got an absolute perfect start. This is what he wants to do. He wants to control the pace, and Hayden got the absolute worst start he could possibly get. He's probably back in 4th or 5th as they tip in. He's trying to ride around the outside. It's a hard place to do it. Let's see if he can get up to 3rd. He did, Greg. Hayden was able to get up to 3rd, but this is exactly, and look, he's going to try to go to 2nd right off the bat. Hayden's been able to put that bike anywhere he wants. I mean, literally, Greg, he was probably up down to 5th going into turn 1, and he just made some moves happen. I think that what Hayden really wants to do is get by JD and push the pace immediately. Right now, JD can feel everything out with his motorcycle and control the pace as well. So you can see those two guys are already starting to get away just a little bit. Nick McFadden doing a good job to put himself there in 3rd with Escalante and Bryce Prince running out your top 5. And Mazziato just trying to look down the inside of Prince. Not quite close enough there.
An all-Kentucky affair up front. The top 3 riders, all from either Owensboro or Philpott, Kentucky. As the number 18 machine, Nick McFadden on the M4 Med-Age Suzuki, trying to fight off the advancements of Richie Escalante as we watch these first 2 start to eke away from the rest of the field. This is kind of what we expected in this championship for today. So it is JD Beach, number 95, on that Monster Energy Yamaha Extended Services Yamalupe Graves Yamaha, being hounded by his good friend. They're both from the same town, Philpott, Kentucky. Different size riders. You can see the size advantage that JD Beach has in that draft. Very competitive motorcycles.
Just behind Escalante and Prince. Looked like they were trying to go by Nick, but you're exactly right. Big size difference between the two guys up in the front. I saw them even hanging out this morning when I was walking in here earlier. Saw them hanging out together. So, you know, they're getting to know each other really well. Obviously on the racetrack now. We haven't seen them racing against each other for quite a few years. So the fact that they're out there racing against each other now, it's going to be interesting to see what Hayden's going to be able to do. It's very difficult to pass you. We've talked about that before, Greg. We're going to look at the lap times from a standing start. From a standing start, 29.6. So you got to expect that it's going to be at least probably 2.5, 3 seconds faster on a roll through lap. So we'll see if these guys dip right back down into the 26s. Now what I'm curious to see is where it looks like their advantage is being gained. That first split between them and everybody else isn't that big. So this second split, though, up the top of the hill, this looked like where they really pulled away last lap. So, and they're kind of getting away again. But you can see the 2 R6s of Escalante and Bryce Prince have now positioned themselves in 3rd and 4th.
Top of the hill, that's turn number 10. They're going to be streaming down to 11. Then you get into 12A and B, and the bottom of the hill is turn 13 before you start to climb back up onto that front straightaway, where turn 14 is the front straightaway kink. This is where they head right now, as we have a couple of packs breaking away. A 2-rider battle up front as JD Beach does a 26.8 on that first full lap. So it's Beach and Gillum, Escalante, Bryce Prince, Nick McFadden back in 5th spot. And now it looks like maybe Braden Ort and Anthony Mazziato, possibly Corey West, starting to catch
that group up. And
yeah, for 3rd spot.
You know, the draft here is only really important in one spot. You can definitely pull enough away in these little sections here to make the draft not happen. And Bryce is another one of those guys. It's a pretty big guy, so it's going to be difficult for him to draft past, because what you really want to do when you come out of that last corner is try to position yourself underneath somebody when you come through turn 14. And if you can't, you got to go the long way around. So just that little kink in the middle of the straightaway as we go back to the lead group here makes it hard for some people to draft over others. But looking at that first lap, 26.8, just like I kind of thought, these guys were going to drop right back into the 6s. 7.9 is the fastest of the group behind, and that was both Prince and Braden Ort, who had Anthony Mazziato right there with him as well. But this group now is starting to get together a little bit more. See Nick McFadden just kind of closing back up on these 2 in front of him.
Scheduled for 20 laps in this race. JD Beach goes by. Will get his 3rd lap in the books. And with a 26.899, JD qualified at a 26.7, so they're nearly at qualifying pace.
So Bryce really runs up on the back of Escalante as they come out of that last corner, but it actually hurts him a little because he wants to get on the gas. He actually, in my opinion, needs to just back off a little bit going in that last corner. He's going to try to go up underneath Escalante and down into turn 1.
Look at Canadian Braden Ort. Sorry, Jason, right behind him. Huh? Yep. So good move.
Great move by Bryce there. To be able to do something with him at the end of the straightaway.
Into 3rd spot, so Escalante coming under fire now from Nick McFadden. Of course, this is what we get in motorcycle road racing when racers start to dice it up. The riders behind can close that gap and get right back in the mix as Hayden Gillum right on the
Right on the back.
tailpipe of JD Beach.
This morning, Greg, he ran a consistent 26s, and he ran some low 26s as well. I believe it was 26.4 that he had qualified at. And so, yeah, the thing is he ran a bunch of 26s, 26.5s, and 6s and 7s. So 26.8, I know it sounds crazy, but 26.8 will feel a little bit slow to him. He'll know the places where he can kind of get away as we look back at this battle for third. Prince still leading the way with Escalante, McFadden, and Braden Nort. Now up behind Nick. They're just getting away from Corey a little bit.
So number 74, Bryce Prince. We talked about him earlier in the broadcast. We got to hear from him. Hannah chatted him up on the grid on that 60 helmets. Kyle Wyman Racing Yamaha R6 in a fierce battle for the final spot on the podium as these two continue to eke away from the field. Now a 6.2 second lead JD Beach and Hayden Gillum have over Bryce Prince, Escalante, McFadden, and Ort.
Yeah, 26.7. So JD's doing lap times and still looking like he's getting pushed there a little bit by Hayden.
And Mazziato has now joined
Back
the party.
Yep, he's back on the back end of this little group, and there's Corey West. He's doing his best now to catch back up. He ran 28.8 that last lap. Everybody else, all these guys in front of him are basically running the exact same times. So if they can just get together a little, it's going to allow Corey West to jump up in this fight for the podium. What a fight. Oh, Bryce Prince has got a problem. Looks like he's got a problem, and he's got it going again, Greg. It looked like he was looking down at his kill switch or something. I mean, you can see the bike is fired back up, and he's going again. But it literally looked like, and I saw a tear-off. I don't know if a tear-off got hung up around his hand, but something weird happened there for sure.
So Bryce Prince slipping back into the grasp of Anthony Mazziato, the third.
Mazziato goes underneath Bryce. So that just is enough to just throw Bryce's attention away for just, basically half this lap. So he's going to have to regroup. He's got those guys in front of him. He knows he can run the pace.
The YCRS Triangle Cycles rider, Mazziato, working his way towards the front. And we talked about Corey West, who's in 8th spot. Look at that.
So much looking back. It's like, I know these guys got pit boards. Let's just keep focused on what's ahead of us, because you can see they had a bit of a run on Escalante coming out of that last corner. So whatever's going on with Richie, he's just having problems getting off that last turn just a little.
Tuned Racing's Braden Ort out of Calgary, Alberta, trying to make some moves on mid-age Suzuki rider. So many great sponsors supporting that entire M4 team. Nick McFadden leading the way right now. This is the battle for third that you're looking at. Escalante still in the mix. He led this for a couple of laps earlier on. Bryce Prince as well, and he faded back with some type of quick issue. And a good job by the rest of the riders to get out of the way as they fan out, heading to one of the signature turns on this racetrack, number 7.
Yeah, it's a big uphill. Can't see the exit of that corner as you crest up over the top of it. But all this little section here, for those especially that get the chance to ride around this place, some track day guys out there, really fun little section up along that top ridge. But you're getting more and more riders. Here comes Braden. He's having a look down the inside of Nick, but not quite there in turn 10. And then you start snaking down this big hill, and I'm looking at Corey West, fastest lap of the race for him that last lap. So he has definitely closed this gap. And it looks like Miles Thornton, Jason Aguilar, and JC Camacho are all just back there. They can all see this group in front of them as well.
Last time by, Hayden Gillum. Well, actually, they just went by the stripe, but the lap before that, Hayden Gillum had set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:26.698. So now the front runners are taking it down into the 6s as Braden Ort goes deep into turn number 1, and he'll grab third for the moment. Sends Nick McFadden packing for at least a couple of turns if Nick McFadden can fight back.
Braden looks like he's got some pace too. Just looking at him, he has a way of just being able to kind of step up during the races. I've noticed that with him. Even obviously last year, he won at Sears Point in our Superstock class at a track he'd never seen before. But you can see, Greg, he's starting to break away from these other big battles. So someone's going to have to take the fight to him pretty quickly here, otherwise he's going to get away. And he's done his fastest first split. But when you look at it, JD Beach, a 40 flat in that first split, and then this group here, 40.9. So it's almost a full second that these guys are losing in that first split on that lap. But he's getting away, huh?
Yeah, Braden's getting away, and you can tell from his riding style at the moment. He's really hard on it. As he gets on the brakes, he continues to lift the rear wheel of his Yamaha R6 in the air. Back up front we go to JD Beach and Hayden Gillum. This battle's been going back and forth. It was a 1/10 of a second. JD Beach, a 26.600, now with a 0.4 second gap. So just 2 laps ago, it was 1/10 of a second. Now 2/10 and up to 4/10. Taking a look at the riding style of Hayden Gillum. We'll see if there's any panic in his movements as JD Beach continues to push the issue. Now going quicker than he qualified, which we expected. During qualifying, JD had a problem early on, smoke coming out of that motorcycle. He had to pull it in, wait most of that session, and it was the urgency of trying to put down a faster lap time and start from pole position that we feel really created that crash that banged his motorcycle up and him as well.
Well, you could tell he was pushing hard to get pole position. When we followed these guys through the corner that he tipped over him before, you can actually see the big black mark that his front tire left this morning. He was lucky to get away with that pretty soft. He kind of low-sided. He got up holding his leg, was limping, almost like he got a Charlie horse, you know, Greg, like you said earlier. Looked like he just got a Charlie horse on his leg or whatever, but it was definitely a fast crash, so he was lucky to get away from that. And the fact the bike got up, you know, that they were able to get the bike back and get it fixed for the race was great. But we're only on lap 8 of 20, and Hayden this morning, Hayden's right around the lap times he was doing. So 26.6 is going to be fast, but Hayden was doing some 26.4 this morning, and those mid 26s also. So we'll see how much this worries him right now.
And also the cloud cover here at VIR is keeping the track temperatures in check, which is going to give the life of these Dunlop tires a little extra in terms of a couple extra laps before we start seeing the punishment of this pace really, start to deteriorate the performance of the tires. And it does happen. So the question is, as JD is really starting to push the issue in the mid part of this race, instead of settling down like we've seen races happen before where you go out there, push a few laps, and then settle down in the middle, JD's not having any of it. It's just go, go, go. Last time by, JD Beach, the only one in the 26s. A good slow-mo shot of Hayden Gillum, who did a 27 flat last time by.
So he hasn't lost much, but he's going to want to. Right now these guys hadn't really seen a lot of each other on track. At least not yesterday when I was out watching. They were kind of separated a little bit, but Escalante now is trying to take the fight and try to go chase after Braden.
So Orr continues in 3rd spot. Escalante's taken over 4th, relegating Nick McFadden back to 5th spot. Bryce Prince still hanging around.
Look at that group behind him starting to form. Corey West, I've been watching Jason Aguilar. Jason Aguilar, 28.2, his personal best lap of the race, this last lap. It's a guy that won the 600 Superstock Championship last year, and it's part of that ridiculous team, and it looked like, expecting good things from Jason, but this is the best run we've seen out of him so far as well.
Yeah, his teammate, Jason Aguilar's teammate, obviously is Hayden Gillum, and since they've rolled that bike off the truck this season, it's been nothing but magic in terms of the setup for Hayden Gillum. Team tells me they're still working to find the right setup for Jason Aguilar as they continue to work. And some good data here as our 3rd race of the season is at the halfway point. JD Beach now has eked up over half a second, 0.6 of a second.
And there's Aguilar going up underneath Corey West. So he's come from a long, long way back too, Greg. I mean, he's been back as far as 13th, I believe, on the first lap. And right now, 28.1 for Camacho, who's just behind these guys. So all these guys are dropping their pace. They can all see that battle for the podium just up in front of them. So they got the hurry up going.
Bryce Prince, number 74, out of Bakersfield, California, on that 60 helmet, KWR R6.
You can see what's happened here. They've got away a little bit from Bryce now, and Aguilar's right up on the back of Bryce as well. Good friends, these two.
But also it shows, Jason, really how important a start is in Supersport. And if you do have that one little mistake and lose a 10th here and a 10th there, it's like now you're not even close to being able to claw your way onto the podium.
That's correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. We saw Bryce just have looked like Bryce was really the guy that was going to go forward. And here comes Jason. He's going to go down the inside of him, down into turn 10. It's a great pass. Good pass from Jason Aguilar. And what's happening right now, what I'm seeing with Jason, is he's not taking any time to get by these guys. Like, he's catching them and going past them. There's no time wasted. So now he's got his head down to that group in front of him. You can see Corey West now looking for a way past Bryce Prince. It looks like Bryce does maybe have a problem, obviously, Greg, yeah?
It's just something that we see this Suzuki GSX-R 600 looks like it's going to get by that Yamaha R6, so possibly a little problem for Bryce Prince. There is Corey West on the outside. He's on that M4X Star Suzuki, that white and blue motorcycle. He gets around Prince on that black and white Yamaha. So now Corey West trying to get back up to the back
Richie
of Jason
Escalante
Aguilar.
is going down our board right now, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I'm looking for Richie up in the front there. I can see Aguilar, but Richie Escalante just went down our timing screen, so we're going to keep an eye on that. We might be able to see him in this next shot, Greg, but have a look up the track here.
We're looking for a silver motorcycle. Escalante is out of our timing and scoring screens. Usually if there's a glitch in timing and scoring, that he would pop up now. So it looks like Escalante out. So
he's right there,
he is.
though. He's
he
right
is
behind
there.
Braden.
Yeah.
So
it might just be just a
on our
glitch.
scoring, yeah.
Sometimes,
I'm glad to
if
see that. I was getting worried for a minute.
Yeah. Sometimes if he's too close, it just the timing and scoring loop just won't pick him up. So we expect him to pop back up on our screens. As we can clearly see, he's still in the fight now, closing the gap to Braden Ort, who had a moment there, a couple laps where he was really trying to check out. You saw Ort on that Toon Racing R6 keep throwing the rear wheel in the air, snatching that brake lever pretty hard. Now it's settled down. That is third spot.
And that's the draft pass I was talking about right there, Greg. You get a good drive out of that last corner, and you can just jump up underneath somebody, and Braden's going to come right back past him. But Escalante right now showing up obviously in our race feed here, but not on our screen as far as the laps go. But that's that draft pass I was talking about. And going past somebody in turn 14 is sketchy. So he was able to make that pass clean, though. Nick McFadden, meanwhile, is sitting there waiting, watching these two guys in front of him.
Less than 8 laps to go in this one. JD Beach with a 0.6 of a second lead over Hayden Gillum. That's 1-2. As you can see on the left part of your screen. And then it's Braden Ort out of Canada. And we have Richie Escalante. That's where the confusion is on the left part of your screen. If you're not seeing Richie Escalante in the mix, number 54 on that silver bike.
Aguilar's next in line to try to catch up to these three. Still 28.3 that time for Corey West. He was the quickest of this bunch behind. So Aguilar, though, 28.4. He was still quicker than the guys in front of him. So he's slowly just kind of making his way forward on these three right now.
Corey West just did the personal best for his race at 28.3. Escalante on that Quicksilver Lexan Hudson Motorcycles machine, putting on a great display for that newer team in the paddock. Escalante pushing his own air, really closing the gap on Braden Ort as they closed into turn number 1. That was before he got on the brakes. Just a little bit of lean angle sometimes increases that RPM and gives you just a little push forward. So now Escalante all over the rear wheel of Ort. But Ort seems to be pretty pedestrian in this particular section of track, but he has some areas where he just lights them up.
Yep. Absolutely, yeah. And Jason's there now. He's almost on the back of Nick. And he, like I said, Greg, the thing that's really helped Jason's progress going forward is he hasn't wasted any time getting by people. He just he catches them and passes them in spots that are fairly simple for him. So
Braden Ort on the number 30 machine. That's the red and white bike that's leading this train. 54 is Escalante. Behind him, number 18, Nick McFadden. Jason Aguilar, who Jason was talking about just a moment ago, is the 4th rider in that screen. You can see him really hanging off that style, number 96, Aguilar. And then Corey West behind Aguilar.
And what Corey's done here, 28.2, his best lap again, Greg. 2 laps in a row, he's done his personal bests. And
we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, for Corey West, who's on that M4X Star Suzuki, he could really put this entire team in a bind if he continues to score some great points and put himself into this championship. And Valentin DeBees, who we all want to come back into this title fight, even though he's down on points, watching him race would be great. This could put the M4X Star Suzuki team in quite a bind. What are they going to do if they have the amazing Valentin DeBees coming back and Corey West locked into this championship? What could that mean? New bike, another team?
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what? If I know the Ulrich family who runs this team, they say bring that challenge on. Let's see Corey West. If he can claw his way back up into this fight and possibly stand on the podium with a couple laps left, it would be absolutely amazing, as West is only 21 points back in the championship from Gillum and JD Beach. JD Beach now, looks like he snapped the wheel. Just to give you an idea, as Escalante with the third spot. 1.7 seconds now for Beach over Gillum.
Yeah, he's definitely broken. Been watching our screen and been watching that fight for third, but I've been kind of keeping an eye on our scoring monitor, and this guy has done what he does. He's been able to, the last couple laps, just pull out. It looks like in that first split, he's pulling out quite a bit on Hayden in that first split, and that's kind of where it started to happen. And I do see a back marker back there that they may have gone past. And the thing is I saw almost 7/10 in the first split a lap ago, and that's all you need to give JD. Now, there's that big battle coming out of the last corner again, Greg. Escalante's leading it again. Ort's looking for a way past. You can see Braden, he likes to look over at his pit board. You can see him take a good long stare at his pit board. As they come down turn one, he's having a look again. Escalante's in deep, and so is Ort. They're both going to get that bike turned. So we got 5 to go, 4 or 5 laps to go. These guys are fighting. Nick McFadden's there. Aguilar's kind of stalled a little bit on his progress forward. It doesn't seem like he's able to do what he's done with the rest of the guys. And Corey West now is getting itchy to try to go past Aguilar. And here I saw him try that move a couple laps ago, kind of starting to position himself underneath Jason. And what is he going to be able to turn it back up underneath him here? Boy, he's trying. So I think Corey's got a little bit of pace here at the end of the race right now. So he's got to try to do something with Aguilar. Let's see if he does something up underneath the Nissan bridge here at the end of the back straightaway. Not quite close enough again, but I think Corey's got a little bit of pace.
We'll see. I mean, the way he's got that GSXR 600 set up right now, Corey West, it certainly turns really, really well for him. Looks like he can point that motorcycle in any direction at any time. The question is, can he get on the gas early enough to go with the R6 of Jason Aguilar?
The Suzuki doesn't look that slow when they get down the straightaways. So, but Jason's a pretty tiny guy. I know Corey's just a little bit bigger than Jason. But these two guys here, they're going to be slugging it out. This would be for a podium spot. It would be great to see Richie Escalante. We saw him win a lot of races in Superstock a few years ago. And, you know, at this point, you got to depend on your board a little bit, because that looking back is gonna every time it's gonna cost you just a little bit of time. And you can see Braden's gonna be able to put himself. Is he gonna get himself up underneath him? He is.
He is for the moment. Turn one is always
Look at Corey
tricky.
West.
Corey West making some big moves. Oh, didn't pay off that time.
Corey had got past Aguilar, and then he was going after his teammate, and it cost him. Now Nick's gonna go back underneath Aguilar, and I wouldn't be surprised now to see if Corey might try to get back underneath Aguilar in this next lap.
This is so tight. Does he get away with it?
Yeah, that's what I could see it coming, you know, and that's what you got to try to do when those guys are dicing it up. You got to keep putting yourself in those positions. Now, he's got to try to go after his teammate and try to do something with him, because Corey, I believe, can run down these other two guys.
Look there for a moment. That could have been Escalante. So Escalante out of Mexico on that Quicksilver Hudson Motorcycles machine in third spot. So Corey West. Now the question is, Jason, with all this infighting, there's Braden Ort. He's going for it again, and he is in there deep. Can he get it turned? There's a bit of dirt tracking.
It's a hard spot. It's a very hard spot. But now we're starting to get a little bit desperate. And, you know, the thing I want to see out of both these guys now is heads down, look forward. Don't look. This is not a good spot to look back, because right here you're trying to create the best arrow you can coming down that front straightaway. You got to get tucked in and behind. Your pit board should be telling you got +0. And when you start getting up out of the bubble and looking back, it's just costing you time. Both these guys did a good job that time. You can see Ort's in deep. They're coming up on some back markers.
Lap traffic. Blue flag gets out of the way. Is he going to try to get back to the apex? That's a difficult place to be a lapper.
Yes, it is. It's very, very difficult. But he's done a great job. But it's allowed. Corey West now has jumped up ahead of Nick. So that probably happened up in turn 10 or turn 1. We just didn't see it. But now Corey West is going to do his best to go up after these two guys here. So it would be tremendous effort today by Corey.
Unbelievable.
Especially from as far back as he was.
If he could get up to the podium and score 16 more points, for sure he's got a lock on third in the championship. His block would continue. Ashton Yates, who's all the way back in the field, is Yates. Way back there. He came in 4th in the points. Anthony Mazziato, who's back in 9th, is 5th in points. Nick McFadden is 6th. So right now, Corey West is putting himself in a great position to continue his stranglehold on third spot in this championship, as this story continues to unfold during this 2018 Supersport season for MotoAmerica.
And when you're a fill-in rider like Corey is, you kind of, you know, he showed up in Atlanta, thought, okay, that was great. I had a lot of fun. Then you get the call to come to Virginia. Now you start to get a little bit more time underneath your belt, and that team's going to start to gel with you even better. I know that those guys have done a great job to get Corey as comfortable as he can, but then your mind's going to start thinking like a racer like Corey is, because he hasn't been in that mode for so many years. But everything's going to start to feel a little bit more comfortable to him. He's having a big go right now. That come from a long way back, Greg.
Wow,
That's amazing.
Sent it. He sent it into turn number 1, and Corey West has now worked his way up into 4th position with Richie Escalante next on the hit list.
Hey, that bike under braking, he has got so much confidence in that front tire, because even in here, this is not an easy place to pass where he got by Aguilar the last lap. So Escalante is going to get a big dose of Corey, I think, down in turn 1 again, because he just came from a long way back to be able to do that. And when you have that much confidence in a motorcycle and in your front tire, especially this late into the race, we've got 3 to go. So with 2 to go, Corey's put himself in a very nice position right now to really do pick up this podium.
M4X Star Suzuki's Corey West, very comfortable here at Virginia International Raceway. Back in 2005 with his own superbike. That's 2005 when there were factory riders everywhere. He scored his first top 10 finish in the superbike class right here at VIR, and he loves the place. So look at JD Beach up front, 3-second lead over Hayden Gillum is JD Beach on that Monster Energy Yamaha Extended Services Yamalupe Graves Yamaha.
Yep, and Hayden's going to get that second spot, and he hasn't stopped. I mean, both these guys, 27.6 still for JD, so he's in the 7s, 8 flat that last time for Hayden. I know they've been going through some traffic, going through some back markers. So,
what an absolute boost for this team. I mean, obviously, the Monster Energy Yamaha Extended Services Yamalupe Graves Yamaha team has been around a while. They have great people that work for this team, but for JD Beach, bringing in a new crew chief this year as they're gelling. John Ethel is his crew chief. And after the tremendous effort to put this motorcycle back together to get it race ready, the team has got to have smiles on their faces right now. It is not over by any stretch of the imagination. 3-second lead for JD Beach with lap traffic up ahead, and all those racers trying to race for themselves, as well as this battle for 3rd between Richie Escalante, Corey West, and Braden Ort. With time running out for Corey West, what does he have left in the tank? Where is he a little quicker than Richie Escalante, or is he? Can he close this gap and get himself in a position where he can make a move and possibly stand on the podium? It would be his 2nd podium for Corey West in only 3 races as a fill-in rider.
He can smell it. He's right there. And if you watch how he rides, he's very much a wheel and line guy as far as that goes. The other guy's pushing pretty hard, and I love how Corey straight lines that, but he's got to get himself close enough, Greg, down through here. And you can see he's able to run a little bit tighter lines. If you watch real closely, you can see him coming down that hill, run a little bit tighter line, coming down in through there. But he's got to get close enough to him to do something with them on the brakes. And this is the run he needs. As he's coming down, he's in the draft. He is close enough, Greg, right now to do something with Richie as they head down to turn 1.
Yamaha going against GSXR 600 Suzuki, and Corey West is by. But can he hold it tight enough to hold off Escalante? No. He runs a little wide. They're going side by side. The battle for 3rd.
Yeah, and
there it is. That's the move that's going to put him into 3rd for the moment on the final lap of the race.
Now he's got to clean this next section. This is where he's really good. If he can get down and through here nice and clean, and I've been watching him go up underneath the Nissan bridge. That's where these guys are headed towards now. Corey's able to run a little bit tighter line going in there. I think that's going to be a big benefit to him, because he'll be able to keep the bike on the right side of the track. You can see him on the right side of the track there, and see how he's tight, how tight he is. He gives Escalante no choice. I've been watching Corey do that lap after lap up this hill now. Now all this section is all leading up to turn 10, and if I know Corey, he's probably going to go pretty tight into turn 10 as well. All these are just little S sections.
Here we go. JD Beach will come across the line and take victory here in race number 3 of the season. So JD Beach with a 2.2 second margin of victory over Hayden Gillum, and now it looks like Escalante has gotten past Corey West. Is West going to try to make this move? No. So now, as close as you like it with lap traffic up top of the hill, Corey West not going to be close enough. Here they come. To the line they go. Richie Escalante trying to fend off the charges of Corey West. He bends it to the line, and he will hold on.
Awesome job from Richie Escalante. Really good work there for him and Corey.
So Richie Escalante. Now here's the thing, Jason. On our timing and scoring screen, we have Richie Escalante now slated into 7th spot. we may have missed some type of a penalty.
Jump start. Maybe there could have been something like that going on, Greg, where maybe there was a jump start or something. So we've been trying to get a little bit of contact to find out what has happened there, because they do have Escalante in 7th. So it could still yet be a podium for Corey West.
Yeah.
So maybe there was a jump start or something like that.
We're being told problems with his transponder, quite possibly. So problems with his transponder would do it, but we'll get that whole thing sorted out when these riders get back to Parc Ferme. MotoAmerica officials will guide them to where they need to go. Richie Escalante, as our timing and scoring experts start to make the adjustments. He's now moved up to 4th on our screen, but it's all about these two riders today, JD Beach and Hayden Gillum. There was some lap traffic with 2 laps to go, and Hayden Gillum was able to close the gap down from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. But at the end of the day, it was JD Beach who will take victory. Now our timing and scoring screens have sorted themselves out. A 127.9 for Richie Escalante on the last lap versus Corey West, his fastest lap of his personal race, Richie Escalante, and that will slot him into 3rd spot. The margin for 3rd spot over 4th spot, just 0.6 of a second. So it's JD Beach, Hayden Gillum, Richie Escalante. There's your podium. Corey West just off the box, but it should still keep Corey West in 3rd in this championship over Braden Nort, Jason Aguilar, Nick McFadden, Anthony Mazziato, Camacho, and Prince.
And those laps that he got there at the end, Corey, it's going to give him so much confidence going into tomorrow. And Richie Escalante on his new team, and a tremendous job for those guys to get him on the podium here as well.
Yeah, and great data that his team could use. He's got a very talented team on the M4X Star Suzuki crew. We'll take a look at that data and be able to make some changes for tomorrow, as at least today we're able to get this Supersport.
Here's the replay, Greg, and it looks like Escalante just dove down, and Corey went in there and showed that he was going in there tight, and then just opened it up enough to where Escalante could slide down up underneath him.
Oh, Corey's going to be...
Here's the big drafting war to the finish line.
I think Corey's going to be hitting himself for that one because, you know, Jason, having ridden this track, turn 10 seems like one of those corners. If you can get it slowed down and block that line, there's really not a lot of opportunity for someone to go around the outside of you.
It's hard, and I think that Corey was a little faster coming down the hill than the guys he was racing against there, too. So if he could have just held on there, and you see John Ethel, Tom Halverson down there with JD Beach. So good day for JD. I mean, to come back from what he came back, a little bit of adversity this morning, and to get 2.2 seconds up on them is a great job for him.
Look forward to talking to JD on the other side to see how his race went. But we'll take a break for the moment, and then we're back to VIR. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway, where we have this Supersport race number 1 done and dusted. JD Beach, a 2.2 second over Hayden Gillum, and then there was an incredible battle back to 3rd spot. Richie Escalante was able to hold on to the podium just ahead of Corey West, Braden Ort, Jason Aguilar. As we take a look at our race 1 results, Nick McFadden's got some work to do, but if you look at in terms of the battle for 3rd spot, as we have definitely seen JD and Hayden on another planet at this point. Nick McFadden now only a couple seconds adrift. Mazziato had a great charge middle of the race in 8th spot, and JC Camacho will get 9th spot. He'll collect 7 points in his bid to stay in this championship, 46.6 seconds back from our race winner, JD Beach, who was able to clobber this VIR racetrack in 29 minutes and 8 seconds.
Yep. Now,
sorry, Jay?
Yeah, go ahead. No, we'll throw it down to Hannah.
Yeah, let's go, Hannah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm here with JD Beach, race winner. It seems like the problems that you had during qualifying didn't really hold you back. You put the hammer down. You were way out front. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, the race was great. I mean, I knew Hayden was breathing down my back the whole race, and qualifying it was a little crazy. But I mean, my team did an amazing job to get the bike going, and it was working great. And today is it's a pretty emotional day, just because this is 11 years since we lost our buddy Ethan, and that's why I run my number that I do. And it feels great to get the win today, and it's even awesome to have Hayden right behind me. But I just got to thank my whole Yamaha extended service Graves monster team, and the bike was amazing, and got to give it up to Ryan Alpine Stars for keeping me safe after that big crash, and just all the people that support me. It looks like the weather again tomorrow is going to be crazy, just like the first round, but we're here to fight.
All right, JD's here to fight. Congratulations.
Took the fight to the rest of the field today.
Great job. I mean, you'd expect nothing less from him. JD's obviously very seasoned. He's, coming into this year, he was so expected to just dominate and win, but there's been one other guy that's been hot on his heels all year long, and it's going to keep him honest and as good as his friend,
So a good look at JD Beach towards the beginning of this race, and he put that visor down and got serious and put the disaster of qualifying behind him, and he was able to race it up with Hayden Gillum, who was able to finish 2.2 seconds behind him. Let's go down to Hannah, who's got Hayden.
Hayden, you had JD in your sights. Couldn't quite catch up to him. What goes through your mind in a situation like that? Are you frustrated?
Not really. He was riding really good, and I had a couple spots where I would gain on him, but he was able to gap me enough in other places that I just couldn't stay with him. And once I lost the draft on the front straight, it was kind of over. I had some front end issues. I was tucking there about halfway through the race. All of a sudden, started tucking the front, and I figured we had a pretty big gap back. I didn't want to try too hard, but I knew we were going to end up getting into lappers, so I wanted to still stay close enough that if something did happen, I would be there to at least close that gap back up. But he rode really good. The guys have given me a really good bike. We started first pole, and man, unfortunately we couldn't cap it off with the wind. But we got tomorrow. We'll go back to make some changes and see what the weather does. See if it stays dry. See if it becomes wet. And I don't know. I'm really happy with how the Ridiculous Racing R6 really ran today, and I can't thank Josh and those guys enough. Josh and Robert and Rick and Sean and Chad and my whole family's here. That today's the 11th anniversary of my little brother's passing, so we're gonna have a little party tonight for him. And yeah, this is a good way to end the day.
Thanks, Hayden. Congratulations.
Yeah, you can see Hayden just a little bit down, and he wanted to win that race today. But he's got a great crew of people down there. This team has really stepped it up this year as the whole Ridiculous crew, and they put a very talented rider on a good bike. And they'll come back swinging tomorrow. Maybe make some changes and get that front end a little bit better for him. And let's run back down to Hannah again.
I've got Richie Escalante here, first Supersport podium ever. Tell us a little bit about that battle that you had going on with Braden Orr and then with Corey West right at the end there.
Yes, I'm so happy. It's a long time not racing. I come back this year again. I work a lot in the bike. My team is a good job. I thank to my crew chief, my mechanics, Patrick, Curtis, all the staff of the team, Sean, Jack for the sponsors, and yeah, I'm so happy. It's a long time. I come back 2 races, stay in the podium is very good. I try a little bit more better tomorrow in the warm-up, and we will see in the race too.
Well, thank you so much. You guys, I don't think that's the last we've seen of Richie Escalante this season. What do you think?
Absolutely right, Hannah. And I think this is another guy that deserves to be in our paddock. A couple of years ago, he's one of our leading super stock contenders who broke his leg during the offseason, didn't get back till 2 or 3 races in, came back and won a bunch of races in super stock. And the guys from Hudson Motorcycles picked him up this year and have done a tremendous job. I saw him testing with Chuck Wall a little bit earlier in the year. So for these guys to come out and put on the podium in their second weekend together, I think that there's only bigger and better things coming for him.
So a 5-point margin and lead for JD Beach over Hayden Gillum. Corey West stays in third spot, 33 points back in that championship. Anthony Mazziato, Richie Escalante working himself up into 5th spot. Nick McFadden hanging around with Ashton Yates. He'll plummet down to 7th spot. And you can see on back through the field as Michael Gilbert in 17th position, 66 points back. All right, we'll take a break here on BN Sports. But stay with us because our coverage continues with MotoAmerica right here from Virginia International Raceway as podium celebrations get underway.